There is one restricted Pokemon which has seen next to 0% usage in competitive VGC, and especially during the Scarlet and Violet format Regulation I, which I believe has the potential to be a huge meta threat capable of toppling some of the more common restricted Pokemon dominating the format. Dawnwing's Necrozma has seen so little play that some people even forget it exists. I believe this Pokemon is a strong sweeper under the field conditioned Trick Room, which is in my opinion the best form of speed control and strategy in VGC. Before we discuss the positive aspects of this Pokemon, I think it's suitable to add some context behind it in order to establish why it's such a little usage besides from a Trick Room niche. During the Ultra Series of VGC in 2019, Dawnwind's Necrozma was not a popular pick by any means, but not a surprise to see with its highest finish being a win at LAIC in 2019. However, since then, this Pokemon has been subject to a gimmick since the introduction of Calyrex Shadow Rider in Sword and Shield, which gave Necrozma its death sentence in VGC. Not a single player made it to Day 2 with Necrozma in Sword and Shield due to Calyrex, who not only shares the same typing of Ghost and Psychic, which is one of the best offensive typings in the game, but its usage ultimately is drawn back by its 2-4 times weaknesses of Dark and Ghost, which it possesses. While Calyrex Shadow Rider has a higher base special attack, its speed stat at 150 is a chasm between Necrozma and Dawnwind's 97, which defines its small usage rate. During Scarlet and Violet, 3 teams made Day 2 at a major tournament with this Pokemon in an archetype called Hard Trick Room. This strategy homes in on setting Trick Room up, a move which reverses the speed over 5 turns to be impactful and sweep under the condition. Calyrex Shadow does not need to do this due to its speed and common partners such as Zamazenta, which can remove the Dark and Ghost types, which Calyrex can struggle to damage. Now we know a little bit more about Necrozma's history in VGC, we should discuss the way I found a team which can utilise its offensive prowess in and outside of Trick Room. Necrozma does have considerably better defences than Calyrex Shadow, but is still crippled by that dual 4 times weakness. With common meta threats such as Calyrex Shadow, Incineroar, Fluttermane, Chi-Yu and Chien-Pao present, it is difficult to ignore those obvious weaknesses. However, Scarlet and Violet's main competitive gimmick Terastallization helps to alleviate this critical weakness. Necrozma can use a Terra type of fighting to resist both Dark and Ghost attacks, as a result making it easier to establish Trick Room and survive throughout the onslaughts of offensive pressure. Necrozma also knows the move Moongeist Beam, a strong Ghost type move. However, Necrozma thrives with Psychic-based moves Expanding Force, which is usually a strong single-target Psychic attack, but with a field-conditioned Psychic terrain, its boosted by 50% and its range becomes a spread attack targeting both opponents. However, we still haven't dealt with the Dark types who resist Ghost and are immune to Expanding Force. Therefore, I've given Necrozma Terra Blast, which when terrestrialized into fighting becomes the same type, allowing me to threaten the Dark types in the format, as I often need to use my Terra when these Pokemon are in the field. This defensive and offensive Terra can help set up Trick Room 2, which will be the final move given to Necrozma. Finally, I've trained Necrozma to survive for longer and take at least one special based Dark or Ghost attack with its bulk and the item Psychic Seed, which when Psychic Terrain is active, grants Necrozma a special defense boost. The next Pokemon in the team will be our second restricted Pokemon, Zamazenta. Zamazenta is one of the most popular defensive supports in the format as a Steel and Fighting type Pokemon that can help support Necrozma by removing the Dark type with its Fighting type move Body Press, which uses Zamazenta's high natural defensive stats and the boost from its item Rusted Shield, which grants an additional defensive boost upon entering the battle to hit super hard. I was torn between Zamazenta's signature move Behemoth Bash to give us a positive matchup into Terra Fairy Calyrex Ice, or Heavy Slam, a move which varies in battle based on the weight differences between the attacker and the opposing Pokemon. I opted for Heavy Slam and the supporting moves Wide Guard to protect Necrozma from spread damage, and moves like Snarl, which are picked up in popularity with Assault Vest Miraidon, which lowers our special attack, and Protect to round off Zamazenta's moveset, and a Terra type of Dragon to resist the Firewater Grass cores, which can be a problem for the team. Interestingly, I have made my Zamazenta intentionally slower than other Zamazenta, so I can use them in Trick Room first. Our next partner for Necrozma is arguably its most important, female Indeedee. Indeedee is a normal and Psychic type Pokemon with a hidden ability Psychic Surge, which summons the Psychic terrain for Necrozma's Expanding Force upon switching. This ability also prevents all Pokemon from using priority moves such as Fake Out and key attacks such as Sucker Punch. This combined with Indeedee's considerable bulk helps its partners to survive and thrive, especially with Necrozma when setting up Trick Room. Indeedee has a Psychic to break Focus Sash and deal decent stab damage and supporting moves, Helping Hand to boost our allies' attacks by 50%, and Follow Me to redirect attacks away from Necrozma to keep it safe. I've given the Terror type of Fairies as a good defensive typing in the format and the Safety Golfers item to redirect spores from Necrozma in Trick Room, as a Moongus, who is slower than both, is a huge threat to the team otherwise. Psychic Terrain can be easier to set up as Indeedee and is slower than both of the most common terrain setters, Miraidon and Rillaboom, meaning its ability always activates last. While with common Incineroar and Rillaboom pivoting cores with Parting Shot and U-turn, Psychic Terrain can be prevented, but we'll come to strong counters against Rillaboom next. Furthermore, I've given Indeedee the same speed stat as Necrozma. This is to ensure I can lead Indeedee into Incineroars and determine whether they will be slower or faster than Necrozma, which can encourage me to either attack normally or set up Trick Room respectively. Indeedee has lots of priority moves, which means it won't impact the order of speed from both Indeedee and Necrozma on the field at the same time. Now with a strong Psychic Terrain based core sorted, we need a strong Dark type option, which we can hit other restricted Pokemon we struggle against like Terrapaghost, who can also take advantage of our Terror, and we want to threaten Calyrex Shadow Rider and immediately force a defensive play. However, we also need a counter to Rillaboom, Chi-Yu and Fluttermane, so I've chosen Urshifu Dark. Urshifu is a legendary Pokemon which has two forms, with Dark Form and Water Form, both having their strengths and weaknesses. Most teams opt for Rapid Strike Urshifu, which is a Water and Fighting type. However, Urshifu's Single Strike allows me to resist key attacks by offering the Fighting type stab with close combat, priority moves such as Sucker Punch, or strong signature move Wicked Blow, which always results in a critical hit. This means that with a Terror type of Dark, Wicked Blow can one-hit some Rillaboom, which run max speed. Moreover, Urshifu is 4 times weak to Fairy, yet with this offense combined with Zamazenta, Urshifu can impact the game outside of Trick Room. What makes Urshifu so powerful isn't that it's got great stats as a legendary Pokemon, but its ability Unseen Fist, which destroys the fundamentals which construct competitive VGC, bypassing the move Protect, which means my opponents cannot play defensive, and once Trick Room is over, can create favourable endgames, which often is not possible with a hard Trick Room style team, where the focus and lack of speed outside of Trick Room becomes noticeable. With an Adamant Nature and a Focus Sash item, Urshifu can essentially have 2 lives in one, which is 1 to weaken its opponent with Wicked Blow, and then Sucker Punch to finish him off. The 5th team member is a strong Trick Room sweeper in the form of Ursaluna. Ursaluna is a ground and normal type which helps it to counter Miraidon, yet its ground type attacks are not as influential into Rillaboom's terrain. However, because Rillaboom and Miraidon are rarely seen together due to the counterintuitive nature of their abilities, we don't need to worry about using Ursaluna against Miraidon teams. Miraidon cannot hit Ursaluna with its electric type attacks either. Ursaluna can hold the Flame Orb to inflict a burn on itself, which activates its ability Guts, boosting its moves by 50%, while ignoring the impact of burn and halving its attack. Facade is a normal type move which receives an even bigger boost due to its secondary effects and stab normal typing. With a Terror type of Ghost to prevent extreme speed and Fake Out and a low base speed, Ursaluna is an ideal partner for Necrozma and Trick Room. It's also key not for our Ursaluna to be faster than most other Ursalunas outside of Trick Room, meaning we can avoid a speed type but also operate outside of Trick Room when their Ursalunas are vulnerable. Finally, the Pokemon which ties this team's Trick Room and Fast mode together is the menace Smeargle. Smeargle has a unique gimmick of learning almost every move in the game. This means it can provide the appropriate support tailored to our team's needs. Smeargle can use Fake Out to help Necrozma set up Trick Room, Follow Me to keep its partner safe, Spore to put foes asleep, and the move Decorate, which can be used for our own Protect to provide a +2 boost to both our special and attack stats. Smeargle has the unique ability Moody, which gives Smeargle a +2 boost and a stat drop in the same turn, the 2 random stats. This means after a speed drop, Smeargle could be used in Trick Room to boost Ursaluna before it moves, or put a foe to sleep with its speed increase before they can move. However, Smeargle's most used item is the Focus Sash to benefit from these boosts. Yet Urshifu is already holding that item. Therefore, I've given Smeargle the niche item Eject Pack. This item switches the user out when its stats are lowered on one occasion during the battle. This means Smeargle can use Fake Out to support a Trick Room being set up, or Spore, then at the end of the turn, Smeargle can be ejected out by its ability to swap in Indeedee to support Necrozma or Ursaluna, who when switched in is immediately burnt by the Flame Orb and is online to sweep under Trick Room without taking any damage. Thank you guys for watching the video. I do apologise for the lack of commentary as I had the audio muted, but like I say, if you do want that commentary or some more in-depth analysis, let me know in the comments and I can potentially re-release it with some more commentary and analysis of the game. But yeah, hope you guys enjoy and I'll see you guys in the next one.